place left to go. Someone's bound to come and try to spoil the show. Remember the songs used to make you rock away. Those were the days when love used to reign. We danced all night to the songs they played. We can come again. We do it just the same. Hey, John Old Times and Anil, Roy Wilson, Dennis Brown. Hey, Big U, Josie Wells, Daddy Roy would wake the town. Yeah, and you had to hold your woman real close when Smokey starts to sing. Temptations, Marvin Gaye, Spinners all the way. Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle used to make me drift away. Play Stevie Play, Sample Kenny Play. We dance all night to the songs they play. We can come again, do it just the same. Right now, we need a brand new start. People everywhere need more music from the heart. And if there remains such a place that I can go, will someone tell me, I'd love to know. Remember the songs used to make you rock away. Those were the days when love used to reign. Yeah, dance all night to the songs they play. We can come again, do it just the same. Yeah, remember the songs used to rock away. Those were the days when love used to reign. Yeah, danced all night to the songs they play. We can come again, do it just the same. Remember the nights, yes, we rocked together. Where is it all gone? Oh, I miss those days. I miss those days. Remember the songs used to make you rock away. Those were the days when love used to reign. We danced all night to the songs they played. We can come again, do it just the same. Now I feel it in my heart. We in such a golden time at the park. Yes. Now there's hardly any safe place left to go. Someone's bound to come and try to spoil the show. Remember the songs used to make you rock away. Those were the days when love used to reign. We danced all night to the songs they played. We can come again, we do it just the same. Hey, John Old Times and Anil, Roy Wilson, Dennis Brown. Hey, Big U, Josie Wells, Daddy Roy would wake the town. Yeah, and you had to hold your woman real close when Smokey starts to sing. Temptations, Marvin Gaye, Spinners all the way. Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle used to make me drift away. Play Stevie Play, Sample Kenny Play.
were independent in the very exact same system. This is how the system should have worked, Corky. So if Bliss Prasad, the chairman, was independent and she knew her function, and therefore her main function was to do her job to the best of her ability, along with her commissioners, and interview, analyze, and create a situation where they create a merit list based on objective analysis. If Bliss Prasad and the other police service commissioners were totally independent, meaning they did not have any connection to the political directorate whatsoever, they understood the Constitution and they understood their function. Immediately, when Keith Rowley lost confidence with Gary Griffith a year ago, as admitted by Keith Rowley, and he wrote the chairman of the Police Service Commission, an independent chairman or chairperson would have politely responded to the Prime Minister's letter and said, sir, that's very good anecdotal information, but you know full well and quote the Constitution and the section that the Police Service Commission is a beast created by the Constitution to be totally independent, and therefore this sort of communication is not only unwanted, but it is totally wrong. Commission. And so, sir, with all due respect, reports, you can have or have not to do what you want. Bodies who can give us you can have confidence or no confidence. That's your personal decision, and you can handle that in your area. But in this area, the Police Service Commission, we take reports from authorized constitutional bodies who can give us information, activities such as under investigation. Those are the agencies that we take reports from. So while we appreciate your interest in the matter, we would like that you respect the Constitution and kindly do not interfere in this process, as we must not only be fair, but we must appear to be fair. End of story. So a year ago, that would have done right there, right? That would have done right there. Are you all listening, my people? That's how the system is set up to function. But when the PNM, and especially Rowley, this version of the PNM, wants to create a situation where there are no independent institutions, that he controls every aspect of life in this country and every dollar spent, that he determines how we vote in Tobago, or he determines how we vote in Trinidad. He wants to control the EBC, give the EBC instructions. He must control the parliament, the speaker, the president. He wants to control who gets to be commissioner of police, who is investigated, who is not investigated. He wants to negotiate with criminal defense witnesses. That's what Rowley is. And that's the problem, not the system. It's the people appointed by Rowley with a design to damage the system. So Arawi, you could come there and Boti Wari so humble and so decent, right? That
yes.
Engineer sucks. The engineer.
Yeah, that the engineer here, man. You know, we are streaming from home, you know.
We streaming from home. Sucks how you're going.
Connect we up here, man.
Yeah,
that
man.
Man.
Sucks. He feeling cold.
Nah. Pink socks. Like the man, radio and TV
yes,
engineer.
My brother. Good
saying.
evening to Sucks. So, Sucks, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the system, Corky,
right,
is designed to work in a certain way. Now, when you plug human beings into the system,
right,
the human being is very important. And the human being who is honest and has an ethical code and is independent is critical to the functioning of an independent institution. Because once you have that, this imbroglio would have never happened. If you had, let me try this way to explain to all you.
yes,
If His Excellency the late Noor Hassan Ali was in President's house, on August 11th and 12th, 2021.
Yes.
This issue would have never arisen. Never.
Because they would have been doing their job.
Say that again.
They would have been doing their job, being
And
independent.
nobody could be independent. Nobody could influence Nur Hasselari.
So how do we get people who would do the job? And
Well, this is the problem. Slowly but surely, especially under this Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley and the media that allows him so to do. Back in 2018, when Bliss Prasad name came up,
yes,
right? The opposition, the member of parliament for Orapuch East, Rudal Munilal, put on Hansard that this appointment was not independent and could not be independent because Bliss Prasad was already on a PNM board receiving a PNM stipend to carry out PNM Rowley policy. Do you see, we are blurring the lines of clear definition of legal positions and convention. One must not only be impartial, one must appear to be impartial.
right.
Why do you think that when governments change, so you have an election, and let's say we were in government, People Partnership, UNC was in government,
Right.
and PNM come, and by hook or by crook, them win, right?
Yes.
EBC say, Rowley's prime minister, them win in 2015 September.
Right.
All of our members who are on boards, NIDCO board, UDCOT board, COCO board, TTT board, or CNMG it was called then, whatever boards,
Yeah.
they have to resign. Because the incoming prime minister and cabinet must have the freedom to appoint people who believe in their policy, who believe in their vision to carry out and implement the policy of the prime minister and the cabinet. Therefore, anyone put or placed on a board by an executive, a political directorate, is beholden and is connected and believes in and has a philosophical position close to, adhering to that government. Therefore, that person cannot simultaneously be on a political board carrying out the policy of the government and be an independent chairperson of an independent institution. The two just don't go together. Oil and water don't mix.
Nope.
Right? So that's when it started. Now, if the media was vociferous and independent, when Rudal Mundinan made that point, the media would have picked it up and said, this is not on, and brought columnists and people and got people to answer and give opinions and legal opinions on bias, on apparent bias, on the reasonable person test, and so on. But because the mass media is in Rowley pocket, because the shareholders are making billions of dollars elsewhere, and they use their mass media in order to uphold wrongdoing of Rowley, to present a picture that he is electable and deserves to be a prime minister, they allow that. And bit by bit, institutions are weakened by political interference. And that's the problem. So it's not that the system ain't working and don't need reform. It's that the very same Al-Rawi and Rowley are disgusting, unpatriotic, and they just want to PNMize the whole country, control the treasury. The mere fact that Al-Rawi could come on the TV in the morning and talk. Think about that. A man who should have been fired or resigned 20 times over had the audacity to come on MCTV and talk like he is some bastion of integrity about the service commissions and the need for reform. So licensing office need to be reformed because you sell a Porsche and didn't transfer. You and K. Walsing didn't go and transfer the Porsche from your name to his name, and he drive around with it for 5.5 years. The system need to be reformed. That you buy 3 Porsche and get on like a ala rental. The system needs to be reformed. That your ethical compass and your morality, Al-Rawi, is so warped that you sit there arrogantly renting out your own building and you from the government that you are the legal advisor to, and you find that correct, and you are preaching to us about system? You all have warped the system. A cabinet that has ministers recusing themselves for a moment to have coffee and renting out their own building. Then they have people, ministers procuring Galleon's passage for 120 million. Where in God's name did you all ever hear that? All the corruption they say in Trinidad and Tobago since 1968, since Lockjoint, since BWIA, since Tesoro, since Texaco, since Ministry of Finance Complex, Financial Complex, Twin Towers, Mount Hope, come up the line. There was never a position that ministers could procure. But yet there was all that corruption, Carani Racing Complex, but all of that occurred with systems of corporate governance in place. Rowley and them come and create this new thing after they crashed the sea bridge and suffered Tobagonians for 3 years, shatter the economy of Tobago, drop the incoming tourists from 97,000 down to 17,000 per year, drop the local tourism between June to the end of August from a high under Cadiz and Kamla in 2014 of 652,000 trainees going across there, spending an average of 6 days during that period. They dropped that down to 152,000 and suffer Tobagonians. Then they come and create this concept that ministers, a ministerial committee could spend taxpayer money and deal with service providers. Where in God's name all you ever hear that before? Never before. And the media allowed it step by step. They allow Al-Rawi and Rowley to come in the parliament and just remove a 3/5 majority and a constitutional majority to gut procurement legislation. The PNM created the concept of PNM dependent senators. Helen Drayton was one of the most glaring examples. She sat there, swore on the Bible, and served years in the Senate as a so-called independent senator. I read 23 of her contributions while we were in government. And all 23 were scaling against Kamla Prasad Biswas and the partnership. As soon as Rowley lie on email gate, and they call an election and he's scraping on all his lies, Helen Drayton jumped out of the Senate and went on the PNM, chairman of the PNM, CNMG, PNM board, taking PNM instructions and following PNM policy. So just miraculously, 2 weeks later, after spending 4 years, 3 years as an independent PNM senator, she just jumped out and is a PNM. And now she's head of the PNM NIB, carrying out PNM policy, appointed by the PNM Corporation Soul. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And this man come on TV, Al-Rawi, who should have resigned. When you think about it, I mean, the case is sub judice, so let me make up a hypothetical. There were situations under Kamla Prasad Biswas where there were allegations that a minister or an attorney general, through hearsay or whatever, may have tried to organize a quid pro quo, let's say. Right? Let me not get into no details. But on the allegations alone, Kamla Prasad Biswas removed a minister or attorney general. Okay? Just on those allegations. Here it is. You have this Paris Al-Rawi, a la rental, a la recusal, a la tight pants, a la make law in the day and break law in the night. There are specific, confessed, confirmed instances of misbehavior in public office on the part of this Attorney General, where he himself has admitted openly that he is bringing cases, criminal cases, against former people partnership ministers.
Yes.
That in itself, and those are his words, that is misbehavior in public office, because an attorney general has no authority whatsoever to do anything with regards to criminal law, criminal charges, and criminal prosecution. That is the turf of the DPP, the independent office of the DPP. He has admitted that that document that we saw, that the media is now letting it just disappear. An indemnity and immunity signed by Faris Al-Rawi with QC Nelson, who is now a witness in a criminal matter. And the DPP said, I don't know nothing about that. But now that they know that the document is real, because Al-Rawi confirmed that it is real, and Rowley went on the platform in Pigat's Corner and down in South and confirmed that it is real, and tried to talk like Kamla afraid something and something. It's totally inappropriate. All of the actions, all of the clauses on that document signed by the Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi and QC Nelson are illegal, because an Attorney General cannot get involved and tamper with, impact, induce, discuss, cajole, promise, encourage a witness in a criminal matter. It cannot happen. Yet we have this man still walking around playing he talking on morning show and calmly trying to discuss the law and systems, when he himself in a real country should be under at least 6 different investigations. I don't know if he is or if he's not, but in Trinidad and Tobago, this is amazing. If you remember, back when Keith Rowley, back in after 2015, he had a senator, a PNM senator, who was convicted of driving drunk, not alleged, convicted, plead guilty. He was above the limit by 52 grams.
Serious?
Yes. And Rowley left this convicted drunk driver, who could have drive drunk and kill your family, my family, anybody's family, and left him in the Senate after he was convicted of driving drunk for 3 years. Not an independent senator say boo. The media say boo. They leave it there. Why? So that's correct. A convicted drunk driver should sit down in the Senate. I didn't hear no independent senators talk out. You see the problem? So the problem is not the institution. The problem is the people. The problem is the people who are being chosen. Yes. When you even look at Her Excellency, she on paper, before she's sworn, is an excellent choice for president. Absolutely excellent, brilliant, strong, independent, great track record, experience, Court of Appeal Justice, National Scholarship Awardee. Great. A fantastic choice. However, somewhere, somehow, around August 11th and 12th, she lost her mind. Her thinking got blurred. Well, how is that? That's the correct question, Kokidi. How? Because of some affinity and connection to politicians, to Keith Rowley. She will have to tell us why. But all I can tell you is, all her life, she knows the law. She's brilliant. She knows the Constitution inside out. She was a brilliant Court of Appeal justice with great track record. So to put it in Trinidad parlance, how she get dotish? What makes she dotish? Just so, on August 11th and 12th, she get dotish. How? Not because of the system, not because of the office of the president, but because somebody made her get dotish. Somebody had some sort of power, control, or influence over her, which prevented her mind from thinking clearly and made her act irrationally, wrong, and in not the best interest of her office. Right. And I put it to you that that connection has something to do with Keith Christopher Rowley. Because the president, on hearing, and when you read her statement, it's so ridiculous, the nonsense that she puts in it, that she paid. I still have it here and I've read it like 55 times. And I cannot believe that such a brilliant woman would write that nonsense and asking the population questions when she knows fully well what evidence, what is the threshold for evidence in her previous job. Evidence, it's very specific what is acceptable, what will be brought in, and what will be thrown out. If anybody knows what qualifies as a threshold of evidence and who are the legal authorities to provide and to do investigations, it is her. She knows better than me. So how she could know so much and get it so wrong? It's called political interference, political influence, political pressure that brought to bear on the president, leading her to act irrationally, not in line with the Constitution, breaching Section 123(4) and has us in a constitutional crisis. So I'll don't come on no TV or no morning show because Bogo let you talk so. Why you don't come here and sit down here and talk that stupidness with me? And you're so big and bad. Put on your makeup and come in the studio and sit down here and debate that nonsense with me. I will give you 2 minutes and I will respond in 1 minute. So you can get double time because you're double dance. Next thing you hear. Now I gonna ask you this, Cocky. You're a father, Cocky?
Yes.
How much children you have?
5 girls.
5 girls, Cocky. You know what they say about man who only make girl? You was one worthless fella in your young days, Cocky. And you're shaking your say yes, it's not TV. Admit, confession is good for the soul.
What do you consider to be worthless?
Worthless? They say fellas who are sweet boys, who have plenty girl and so on, and maybe did not treat each one with the respect that we should have. We end up getting girl children to show us and to let the Lord just let we know what we did back in the day. So when you get 5 girls, I mean, I had 3 children, I had 2 girls, so I know I was kind of bad. But Corky, you make me look like a saint. It's 5 girls again, Corky. Oh God. Well, that is very good now.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this, Corky.
Yes.
As a father of 5 girls,
Yes.
Cocky, the other day I pushed the door by mistake here, going into the tea room, the kitchen.
Yes.
And a lady was coming out. And the door just grazed, that kind of thing. And I was, oh God, sorry.
Yes,
She said, no, it's okay to apologize about 5, 6 times,
Yes,
make sure she's
yes.
all right. And the door just kind of grazed, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Cocky.
Yes. I hope I could answer you.
If you driving out your car,
Right.
or you open a door, or you're riding a bike, or you're
Yes.
pushing a grocery cart,
Right.
and you accidentally bounce a lady. What? Tell me what you're good. Okay, you're in the grocery. You're in a grocery and you're pushing your cart.
Right.
You bounce a lady ankle by mistake. Because you
Yes.
was looking at the price. You couldn't believe
Yes. Oh my
corned
gosh.
beef gone up so much. Let me hear you. You're bouncing lady.
I go in and say, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. You know, you okay? Your foot. I'm very sorry. I keep apologizing like that, just as you was doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
let
I
me
bounced
ask you this.
somebody. Yes.
Keith Rowley admitted that on Friday last, 1:30, he was in Tobago going to play golf.
Yes.
Now forget that the whole country in a mess. People flood out, people dying, 1,700 people dead, ICU pack
What?
out. Forget all of that. Economy shattered, no jobs. But he going to play golf the day after a critical debate where he caused the president's office to be brought into the parliament into disrepute because of his political interference. No commissioner of police, no acting commissioner of police, murders going up and up out of hand, crime, people getting carjacked, kidnapped. Today alone, a lady had to jump out a
Yes,
car
yes, yes.
to escape kidnappers in El Socorro. Gunplay, murders, gunshot, larceny, carjacking, and he gone to Tobago to play golf.
Golf.
Yes. While he was sitting in his golf cart, they were looking for the key for the golf cart.
Yes.
He's in the driver's seat. This is his version, right? And they were checking the key and so on. A lady who was working there got 2 Gatorade and was bringing it to him.
Right.
Well, they were working on the car. She walked between and she came around to the driver's side and handed the Prime Minister his 2 Gatorade. She was then making her way back to wherever her station was in the hotel.
Right.
And while she was in the middle, the Prime Minister, well, you know he does lie. So let me just tell you what he said.
Right.
Well, one of the keys, the manager was trying different keys with another fella, and one of the keys worked. And the only way you know if it's on, because it's an electric car, golf cart, is to mash the gas. Yeah, but what he forgot is the golf cart only had 2 gears. Well, 3. It had middle, which is neutral, and right side is forward, left side is reverse.
Okay.
So for it to go forward, the driver had to put it in forward. All right?
Yeah.
You forget that part.
Right.
But anyway, to cut a long story short, the lady, it was an accident. She was either hit a little bit by the thing and it tripped her up and she fell very hard. She fell down flat on her face, bounced her chest, hurt her ankle. Okay?
Right. Yes.
Now the lady said that the Prime Minister did not get out of the driver's seat to say, you see how you just said you bouncy lady?
Yes, yes, man.
And you go, you forget your groceries, you
Yeah.
go on to check up, make
One
sure,
time.
pick up the lady,
Yes,
you
yes.
ask her about 10 times if she okay, what you want, and so on. You die what you say.
Yes.
The lady said that the Prime Minister did not budge, did not come and ask her anything, did not see if she was all right, and so on. The Prime Minister said, and I quote, well, when she fell down, nobody ran over her, nobody rolled over her. Everyone went to see about her, and everyone asked her if she was all right, and everyone was around her, and everyone. Is that what you would say? If I asking you, you bounce a lady,
Yes.
what are you discussing everyone for? If I bounce somebody, I would say, boy, like I just tell you, I bounced the crazy lady the door. I say, well, I went and I pick up and
Yes.
I ask if she all right, and I tell them, well, make sure she good,
Yes,
and
yes,
I
yes.
tell my special branch, bring the SUV, and I ask her if she want to go in the hospital, and I ask her if she need ice, I ask her if she all right, I ask her and check her and all that. Isn't that how normal human beings speak?
Yes, yes.
So when this clown who calls himself a Prime Minister says everyone saw about her, and everybody, the manager and everyone, he corroborated her story
Yes.
that he, as a man, and he have 2 daughters, I think. He have about 3 fellas outside. He does count them different. He does count inside and outside child. Me, I know about that. I know child is always yours. Once it comes from
Right,
in your
yes.
testicles, it's yours. But he, this clown we have as a Prime Minister, he does differentiate between inside child and outside child, right?
Yes.
But he had 2 daughters. And this human being, let me deal with just you. Now let us be clear.
You serious this happened?
Look it right here, boys.
See it.
Look it right here.
So then,
And let me read for you from the Express, right? We're showing him.
I can't
Look
believe
it right
this
here.
thing.
And Rowley talk and he admitted, right? Hey, he told the Express, I was sitting in a golf cart, which was parked behind another golf cart. The cart could not start and so on. I went through all of that.
Yeah.
Having delivered the Gatorade, the woman was making her way back between the 2 carts, right? Now, key point I want you all to remember too, she delivered to him hand in hand Gatorade, right? He admits that, so he corroborating the lady's story. But nobody knew that, right? And he responded by moving because it's electric. The woman was shortcutting between the car. He tried to blame the woman, right? When mine finally responded moving forward, how your car could just move forward? You in the driver's seat. It had
Right.
3 positions on the knob. Neutral, backward, and forward. This clown Rowley tried to say his thing just moves. So he do nothing. It like God lift it up and blow it, right? That is nobody else had to listen. See, such a child. The man is so pathological, but that's not the important part, you know. He continued, right? I immediately stopped it by braking. So he know that he immediately stopped it by braking, but he didn't immediately make it go forward by putting it in gear and mashing the axle. This man is such a disgrace. Everybody, know him, right? It came into contact with the woman crossing in front my cart. So he admit he bounced the lady. But this is the sweet part. And that's why I ask you, father of 5 daughters,
Yes.
if your shopping cart bounce a lady, you would immediately cease all and everything you're doing and see about her, apologize,
course,
asking, apologizing, asking, apologizing, if she's all right, helping, assisting, lifting, making sure. And yes, isn't that what you said?
Yes, any
and I
gentleman would do
concur
that.
with you.
Yeah.
And I believe that everybody listening concurs with us. Okay.
Yes.
Well, listen to your prime minister. Everybody was surprised. She fell. More like stumbled and fell. Everybody rushed to her. She got up and everybody inquired if she was okay. No cut, bruise, or other harm other than the fall. I expressed my concern for her and apologized for the incident, he said. I tell the hotel manager assisting and apologizing. Right? After he say everyone, the lady say, Rowley never moved. He never budged. He never come out the cart.
Gosh.
He went about the business. Right? The manager and them was seeing about him. That is the prime minister that we have. Number 1. Right? Number 2. Hear this now. The lady went to the hospital eventually.
Right.
And I don't know, they happened to do a COVID test on she. And she find out a few days ago, yesterday or day before, that she's COVID-19 positive. So, remember I tell you, Rowley said, and the lady said, she brought 2 Gatorade for him and handed it to him, directly to him. Right. She was COVID positive at the time. So a COVID positive person had direct intimate contact with the Gatorade that was handed to Keith Christopher Rowley, who accepted the Gatorade, continued and would have drunk the Gatorade and interacted with the mouth, nose, eyes, ears with the Gatorade.
Yes.
So for about the 5th time, Keith Christopher Rowley has himself become an irresponsible super spreader, because at that point, he went on to play golf. A round of golf, 18 holes, for good players will take about 5 hours at a slow pace.
Yeah.
For a goat like Rowley who cannot play, he love the game, but the game don't love him. You know, they always have some fellas who in the sweat, they love football, bad, but football don't love them. No. Rowley is like that with golf. He love the game, but the game don't love he. He sucks, right? So he would have played that round of golf. From 1:45, he might have finished in the darkness, all around 7 p.m., interacting with all kind of people, all on the golf course, talking, liming, dribbling, hugging, doing all the security. He would have gone and had dinner in the hotel, gone there on the Sunday 2 days after. He would have had some birthday celebration. Right. Somebody say, why I don't tell you happy birthday? Because I is not a hypocrite. Leave he, right? All you want to tell him, that is all your business. Because I really wish his father 72 years ago had known about prophylactics. That would have been the best thing for this country. However, so his birthday fiesta, who was there? Who was liming? Who was interacting with him? And then the Monday, he and the golfing buddies and the friend and the party goers went on plane, interact with staff at the airport, the VIP room, moving through the customs, the this, the that. The baggage handlers, the plane, the flight attendant, the pilots, the passengers, all on a plane. COVID-19, they had a contact. Where the contact tracing, you know what kind of super spreader Rowley was again? Not only was he a super spreader when he was in Tobago and he contracted COVID-19, and they say it's 35 people, and Franklin can't just happen to dead around the same time, and they tell me why he dead. Rowley also was a super spreader in Tobago by inviting people to Tobago to come across to Tobago. 50,000 people went, and Tobago, reeling. Tobago have 100 death. 50,000 people went to Tobago in April. No extra, no mass, no nothing, party on the beach, lime and so on. Before Rowley invited people to Tobago, Tobago had 0 cases. They had about 2 deaths. Now, yesterday, Tobago hit 100 dead people.
But why would he do something like that?
You have to ask him that. Why would he not go and jump out of the golf cart, make sure the lady was all right, apologize profusely? The lady said, and he corroborated, that he did not even budge. He didn't come out. He didn't apologize. He didn't come and see if she was all right. He didn't say anything. He just went about his business. What kind of human being is that? Nobody blame you for accident. Even the way he gives a story, he's trying to blame the woman because she cut through in front and all this kind of nonsense. An accident is an accident. Accidents will happen. Nobody go blame you for an accident. You didn't maliciously mash gas and bounce the woman on purpose. What nonsense. It was an accident. But your actions after show the character, show your heartlessness, show your callous disregard for other human beings. You feel that you up in the clouds. And now I put it to you that Rowley should be in quarantine, and everybody he came in contact with must be in quarantine. We have Delta variant today as we speak, Corky.
Yes.
How many cases you think happened today? And remember, we're not testing full. Whatever testing they're doing. How many positive cases you feel occurred today?
Positive cases. Could it be about like...
Recorded. Now we on state of emergency. How long? 125 days, me even know, 130. I lost count.
Is it 100 and something cases?
386.
Oh my gosh.
386 positive cases today.
Wow.
And here the next part, Corky. But the government, some of them might be going, phew. I hope not. But some of them might be, some of them heartless. They don't even apologize to people. Here the next part. 10 human beings died today of COVID-19. But you know what happens? You know what that means? That the ICU not really at 100% again because 10 people dead.
Yeah. Sad.
So that's how we're not going over and over because people dying, the ICU not working, the ICU not saving lives, the system is not saving lives.
Taking lives.
It's taking lives. Our death rate in the ICU since April 2021 to now is the highest death rate globally in our ICU. Once you reach our ICU, best you just go Belgrove's first. Once they tell you have to go in the ICU, tell your family bring a box. It is horrendous, and that's why Tim Gopi Singh and the UNC have called for a commission of inquiry into each and every death. We taking a short break.
Yes.
All you run the yards. But we are saying that Rowley must be in quarantine. All the ministers who interact with him in Tobago must be in quarantine. The golfers who play golf for them, his contractor friend and them, must be in quarantine. All of those who were partying with him on Sunday must be in quarantine. The people who are at the airport who interacted with all those people need to be informed and them need to go in quarantine. Rowley is a super spreader, but cussing everybody and talking down to the people and saying don't jackass the scene, but he jackass the scene 5 times in 6 months. This fool, run it.
Oh my gosh. What's going on in this place?
It's a festival of savings at Passad the Food King Craving for Savings Sale. Beginning October 24th at all 8 locations of Passad the Food King supermarkets. Marabella, Point Fortin, Princestown, New Grand, Rio Claro, and Miaro. Passad the Food King continues to care for you like family during these tough times by ensuring that you get the best quality products at the most affordable, discounted prices. Over 250 great specials offered to you, ensuring that you budget like a boss and eat like a king in these tough times. Only at Passad the Food King supermarkets.
Time has come. New 97.5. Make it your choice. Something for everyone. 97.5 FM.
107.5 FM, Hot Like Pepper, Multicultural Radio.
Power to the listeners.
Focus Studios proudly presents Diwali Lights, a virtual concert. Join us on MCTV on Sunday, October 31st from 5 p.m. and enjoy live performances from Reshma Ramlal, Satnarayan Raghu, Run the track! Anurara Hansraj,
प्यार के लिए चार पल कम नहीं थे कभी तुम नहीं कभी हम नहीं
Anthony Batson, and so many more. May the light of Mother Lakshmi spread to the dark corners of our world through music and song. Special thanks to our valued sponsors: Focus Studios, Factory Concepts, Lullaby Group, Drumsy Entertainment, BH Sound Company, Mohammed's Indian Delicacies, Bacchanal Radio, Classy Dolls Makeup Artistry, Printer Ting, Beauty Secrets by Natasha, Pawan Wholesalers Limited, Annie's Roti Shop, U975,
Hot like pepper.
Multicultural Radio, and MCTV. Diwali Lights, a virtual concert, a festival of songs, an evening of beauty and praise. Only on MCTV.
Happy Diwali.
Vishnu, everything good? Give me a thumbs up if you're hearing everything good. Yeah? You're hearing the Tassa below? I'm talking over the Tassa today. We getting them Douglar radio. We going with the Tassa because we beating them like Tassa today. TTPS, Jacobs, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service says there is no spike in murders. Oh. Before I continue, let me laugh good, yes? Oh, Lord. All you hear that? Page 10, Thursday, October 28th. Guardian. I hear the volume is too low. We can't hear. That was 625. I hope you all hearing now. Somebody tell me if all you're hearing now. Oh, Lord, I wasn't checking my phone all the time for all of these messages. But let us see. There's this Jacobs fella. He going well, boy. That man say, no spike in murders. Right? Let's read. I like to read fantasy, you know. This as ridiculous as Al-Rawi talking about the Police Service Commission needed reform. Not that he and Rowley interface, misbehave in public office, and at Talbot also. Not political interference that led to the collapse. Not the vindictive nature of Keith Rowley that he lost confidence in Gary and did not want Gary. It had nothing to do with that. It's about the system. Al-Rawi, I don't even know if you drink alcohol, but you need to drink something, boy, and cool yourself. You understand? The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service says there is no spiking murders. In a statement yesterday afternoon, the TTPS said they're making it categorically clear that the recent isolated reports of murders in certain communities do not represent. Wait. Jacobs, I remember I asked to see the man O-levels and masters and his qualification. The man, he said that the recent isolated reports of murders in certain communities do not represent, wow, a surge in murders as being reported. It is the murder toll for 2019 was 439, and this was reduced in 2020 to 340, and currently stands at the same figure, 340 for 2021. Mr. Jacob, just reading that, what do you think? We're a bunch of idiots? Number one, for the bulk of 2021, for going on very shortly, 150 days, we have been under a state of emergency. For 180 days, we have been on total lockdown, shutdown, and broke down. No economic activity, no movement, and so on. and you are trying first and foremost to compare murder rates like that. Secondly, we are in October, and if we have reached 340, we have equaled the amount for the entire year up to December 31st last year. Then there's a surge. Furthermore, what has been the rate of increase over the last 5 weeks to 7 weeks, especially during this imbroglio without a commissioner of police that we all have been seeing? I could just open one piece of paper, and I did it for you all on Douglar Politics and last night, and on one page, all you go hear is murder, 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 murder. But this man, who the PNM want to make commissioner of police, this bright spark, says the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service says there is no spike in murders. In a statement yesterday, it said the murder toll for 2019 was 439. This was reduced in 2020 to 340. Well, if it was reduced to 340 in 2020, with the people who was on contract by Gary Griffith, why you fire them? You see, when these fellas get involved with the PNM, they talk more and make themselves look more dotish every minute. He continued, it said so far for 2021, investigations conducted by the Homicide Bureau of Investigation have resulted in 72 suspects being arrested and charged with murders. In addition, 175 persons were charged with shooting. Now, if all of this was done, why you fire the 19 people like they was working good? You're arguing against yourself, Jacobs, like you bipolar too. He did, but when we check, we also see a release. And it is clear that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service now starting, just like the PNM, to lie. Because in what can be only described as a deliberate attempt to hoodwink people, on the TTPS's Facebook page and in a media release yesterday, the TTPS claimed that since the present murder rate is the same as the last year's, which it is, this is evidence that there hasn't been a spike in murders. A bold-faced lie, because what they left out was that for the first 7.5 months, January 1st to August 16th, there were 50 less murders than last year. For the same period in 2020, so there were 50 less. So now that we have equal the rate, it meant that in this period, between August 18th and now, over 50, whatever was the normal rate from last year, plus 50 have occurred for the rate to catch up, if you understand what I'm saying. The rate was behind by 50 up to August 17th. There are no police commissioner from August 18th onward until now. And now the rate is equivalent. That means the murders mash gas. That means there was a spike in murders since August 18th to now October 28th or whatever we reach. That there is a spike, there is a surge. So for this Jacobs man to come and say that what we see and what we understand since standard 3 mathematics, that what he tell we must believe. So he is starting off by blatantly lying to the population. And we must have, remember yesterday I asked him, I said, how we going to have confidence in you? How? Because you fire 19 people and you tell me you do an audit, but then your statement today telling us how much detection, how much arrests, 75 arrests and this, that. So what you fire the 19 people for? They working good? What you fire them for? For we to get killed and for nobody to get arrested? For bandit to go free? Why you fire them if it was working? You understand my point?
Yes.
But they continue. This is definite, is the very definition of a spike. Because what it amounts to is basically one more murder per day for the last 10 weeks in comparison for the same period in 2020. That's what we're talking about. So the murder rate mash gas. Without leadership, without Gary there, without the 19 contract workers, without the people there, without the police having a strategic plan and effort, bandit get brazen. So the rate has accelerated in the last 5 weeks. But why would the TTPS perform such statistical gymnastics to deny reality? It is because they admitted that is a spike. It would make Gary Griffith look good. And if it make Gary Griffith look good, it make Rowley look bad. You see when... That's my point. Rowley, let me tell you something. Rowley is a malignant tumor on the skin and the fabric of Trinidad and Tobago, and even PNM people should be surgeons and extricate it, you know. If you really care, forget PNM, UNC. Let me deal with Rowley. Rowley, first and foremost, is the worst prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Rowley is the worst leader of the PNM in the history of the PNM. Rowley is the most callous, uncaring individual to ever ascend to that lofty office of leader of the PNM. And all of the PNM members know it, because the man is not just that lady who get bounced down. That is the human being. He don't even tell some of them cabinet ministers, there are 23 of them. About 17 of them don't even get a good morning on a cabinet morning meeting. Right? We'll take some calls.
Yes. 218-776.
218. Hey, it's 7:12 already. I talk so long there.
Yes, yes.
Eh?
12 minutes past 7.
Hey, we going and work some magic at about 7:30. Eh?
All right.
Now we have Senator Lyda coming up to talk different issues. But at 7:30, we're going to link up with Saeed from Synergy TV.
Right.
He's going to call me live, and he's going to do an interview on his show while we on this show. You ever see that before?
Okay.
He go call me there.
Can magic, boy.
Well, we go work it. Use
We
the
have a
technical
call coming
man.
in here, 975.
Hello.
Mr. Anil.
Hello, hello.
Yes, Mr. Anil, a blessed night to you, sir.
Good evening, good evening.
And to Mr. Koki, a blessed night
Yes,
to
you
you.
too, you too.
The thing is, the light of the world is the human race. Eh? When you could be honest and telling the truth, you would let the people be happy. And the person who brings darkness, the human being, who is dishonest and telling lies to the people, keep the people into ignorance, so they stay into darkness. And you see, there's an analyzed thing goes. You're honest, the truth, and you give it as it ought to be. And you see, when Mr. Tim Gopi Singh was talking into the Senate, and he said, every 2 hours, a person must die. And when he said that, I gonna say, but that's 12 people per day. And why we not in these things? Are they covering up these things? Look, the hospital is overflowing. You see, when you're telling lies, everything just, and the truth just keep rising, and people don't understand that. You see, our Prime Minister, I will say this about him, he didn't want to be this stupid. That's why he tell the people he did not need this job. And when he said he did not need this job, he said, the people, I am penny wise, but the people of this country are tons stupid. And this is, we prove it. The man did not want the job.
Thank you, my brother. You believe that? Since 1987, Rowley wanted that job. Rowley wanted that job and wanted to remove Patrick Manning. Since 1995, he tried. He wanted the job because he wanted to procure without procurement and to do what the hell he want. And we are allowing him so to do. Good evening.
Good evening. Tomato choke and sada inside the house.
Yes, man.
Anil, I want to reflect on that, what they call it, golf cart and the Prime Minister. I have a different thinking about it.
Let me hear you.
First of all, if he can't drive a simple thing like a golf cart, do you think he could steer the country out of the mess he has put us in?
I agree with you.
The other thing too, you see that lady? I think when the Prime Minister saw her come in with the 2 Gatorade, he troops, he twists up his face, and you know what came into his mind? She was not groomed enough, and that she might have been a parent of the hyenas in the jungle. That is what it was total scorn to the lady. That is how I feel disgusted about a Prime Minister. He bungs down the lady.
Well, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. You are children?
How you mean?
Well, how much children here?
I have 2 lovely daughters.
Oh, you what less like cocky too. Right. But your daughters, and if there's an accident and you bung somebody by mistake, especially a woman, what would you do?
You know what I do? Immediately offer all the assistance they want.
Exactly.
Even take them to the hospital, because it is my fault. His action really speaks louder than the word. A man's action binds him or free him, you know.
But you
And
make
his-
a good point there, you know, because I wasn't even going that far, but I agree with you. He should have postponed his game for an hour or whatever and gone in the van, put her neck in the back seat with him and his entourage and sped out to and go make sure she alright and then come back and play golf while the whole country drowning in water and we flooding out. But
Show
something
compassion,
wrong with
show
he.
compassion.
No, I tell you, he's a
Because the-
sick man, boy. All you feel is joke I making, you know.
hustling,
Yes.
bigging him up, giving him the Gatorade, and you chups in.
Anyway, I'm
Chups him
glad
down.
you have daughters, eh? I tell you, them girl children is the sweetest. Because when we old and we in rocking chair and we have to wear diaper and thing, them girl go take care of we. All the
You
boys
sure-
go
you're
do is
correct.
come
The
and
other
pass
thing-
and say, Daddy, we love you. You have 100.
Right. No, the other thing I want to say about this Pimpanian, if he can manage himself with respect to getting COVID, can you think he could devise a plan to protect the country against COVID?
But think about it, I am agreeing with you. This individual, in the last 20 months, contracted COVID definitely once, and may have contracted it 4 more times, and spread it 3 times.
I hear he's flying out of the quarantine. He want to go and party up in the climate thing, 26 in some Scandinavian country. That's where he want to go. He want to give you a bad name again thing. Because say you can't manage it. You don't know the basic protocol for stop the spreading. This man is a joker in a way.
Total. Thank you, my brother. Blessings. And that's the point. The man is a super spreader and buffing people. Hello, good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Roberts.
Good evening, good evening.
Well, usually what would happen in such an instance as the accident, the person driving the golf cart should have been breathalyzed. Maybe the cameras within the hotel may tell a story about who was consuming what prior to the accident, you know? But
That's an
as
interesting
a,
thing.
yes, but as a devout PNM, I feel we should just bounce down everybody who have COVID. What do you think?
How about good evening? No. Good evening, good evening. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Corky, and to
Hi, good
everybody
evening.
out there. Good evening. Anil, first thing I like your shoot. And yes, we are hearing good now.
Thank you, sorry
Anil,
about
I
that.
want you to play the driver driving good by Luther for him for me now, please. The man was
Corky.
driving so good. You
Yes.
understand? But Anil, I have a few questions that I
Was
want to
that
ask.
Luther or was that Chalk Dust?
It was Luther.
Back in 1986? Or they have two
Yeah.
different... Huh?
Yeah, I think so, but it was Luther that sang it.
You sure?
Because I think he won, if I'm not mistaken, he won with it.
All right. I remember Chalky had one so too, but
Oh,
let somebody... But
I
what?
prefer Luther own.
All right.
Yeah. Anil, I want to ask you a question. If it is that the DPP, he didn't know about it, right? And when the reporters and them asked him about what Faris did, why is the DPP not doing anything about it when he know it is wrong, Anil?
Well, pause. We do not know whether the DPP is doing anything about it or not.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yes, because the DPP office is not a political office and they don't look for flam and fame like Faris.
Right.
So any work that is being done by the DPP is done quietly, in secret, and so on. So we don't know. We hope that it is being done.
Right. Now, what happened to the Law Association and everybody who was so vociferous when Anna and Ram Logan was there? Because if my memory serves me right, Anna never did anything like that.
Is Luther, yes, you are correct, my dear, 1994. Yes, good driving. I think,
Yeah.
right, we will play that for you.
And Anil, why it is that all these people so quiet? And I am through you, I am calling on Mrs. Prasad Bissessar to write the United Nations, WHO, the U.S. Embassy, everybody that gave us money to help with COVID, right? To let them know what it is going on in our country. That for 1.4 million people, how many ICU beds we have? And now we are hearing that they're running out of beds. That is disgusting and distasteful, Anil. You understand? They have to do something about it. Where did all that money go? We are asking questions and we want answers. Because you can't tell me, Anil, so much of money was spent. What happened to the outdoor, we'll call it the outdoor hospitals, the field hospitals?
Well, they opened it back now. Remember, they had closed it, and I was on Douglar Politics. I said, what stupidness are they doing? Delta variant coming. All you're closing down hospital that will be required. They open it back to the field hospital.
Okay. They open it. Right. But Anil, one more thing I want to tell you. You see what they did with Lester Henry sitting down there? Well, you see, because of Freddie Ferreira, they didn't want to fire him, right? It's situational ethics with all of them. Up to now, we have not heard anything again about Camille handbag money.
But wait, caller, yes, Freddie Ferreira. What you thought about a man convicted of driving drunk on the roads of Trinidad and Tobago, breaking the law, sitting in the Senate? Imagine Ferdy jump off his rocking chair to find a news day to bad talk the UNC. Why Ferdy don't go and relax himself? Ferdy in the PNM 60 years, since BWIA to Soro, Lockjoint, Carani Racing Complex, everything Ferdy was there for, and he talking about the UNC being...
Anyway, Anil, have a good night to you and everybody out here.
Corky, you're good, boy, you're good. When the ladies ask you, you just provide service, we go play it a little bit just now. I hope it has no copyright, you know. Hello, good evening. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Anil.
Good evening.
I am the guy who talked about Pelangro Manga the other day.
Yes, how you going?
I going good. Now, everybody say, well, from the report, the man was supposed to put in the forward gear. Sorry, he was supposed to put in reverse.
And he flicked it forward. So when somebody now say
they have the country in reverse all the time.
Thank you.
But Anil, something troublemaker today, boy. Get your take on it.
Tell me.
Please, spare me a minute. Today a Rottweiler was loose in my community. The dog was approaching me. I was cutting the side of the road there.
Right.
By my premises. So I rev up the thing and whatnot, and the dog get frightened and he go on. However, this dog belonged to a policeman in Scarlet Ibis Circular in Lapai Gardens. And we couldn't get on to him to come and secure the dog. Remember the other day, a little child in Cincinnati, right. And then the year before, our grandmother died. No. So we decided to call the county police station so they might render some assistance. You know the police tell we call the regional corporation?
Well, I know that the corporations have, supposed to have a unit to deal with stray dogs.
And
however,
expanded long time. It no stray dog.
Oh, I don't have that? Well, look,
that went through a long, long time.
Well, you telling me something, I didn't even know that. But on top of that, I think the police should have come because it's a dangerous dog. It's not just a dog without an owner. It's a risk to the community, to children, to elderly, and so on.
Right. And remember when the people had the impasse with the dog recently in Trinity?
Yes, and the police handled it.
The police came.
The police came and dealt,
dog.
They dealt with it very well. The police did very well on that occasion.
So I wonder now, if I see a crime has been committed in my community,
call Jacob.
So what to do? Call the regional corporation?
Call Rowley because he is the police commissioner now. Thank you, my brother. Play a tune and then we should go live with Saeed on Synergy TV. If there's copyright issues on YouTube and on and Facebook, we cut off, send me a message, we go cut the tune. But play the corky, what is Luther? Good driving from 1994, Calypso.
He had vengeance against Trini. Abu Bakr should 1990. Only thinking about Tobago. He ain't deserves to be alive. So we kick him out and tell him go. Singing the driver can't drive, but now the driver driving good.
The driver driving,
The country moving smooth.
the country moving.
The driver renovate the kitchen for 1.6 million. Advertise the face on TV for only 400 grand. Why? The driver driving good.
The driver driving,
The country moving smooth.
the country moving.
You better take your separation and don't call it retrenchment. It's right size in operation from the people's government. I tell you, the driver driving good.
The driver driving,
The country moving smooth.
the country moving.
And that was Luther. Now we go take a little chalk dust. I was a little wrong. It wasn't 1986. I think it's 1989. That corky fine here. So we go into, that was Miss Santa Cruz. Now we go into chalk dust, boy. From the big stage, the savannah, the big yard. Run it, corky. Not only, but yes, even though it is not good quality from TTT, but we go hear the lyrics.
Okay, let's try this version here. This.
This is Caribbean Vibe.
You asking me what is wrong with Trinidad? You can't understand why things go on so bad. You find we so rich in human resources, and yet the country going to pieces. Well, let me tell you, my friend, where we went wrong. After Eric Williams' old car breakdown, we called in an AR, we ordered an X-car and installed a new driver. With 33 passengers from the party, we gave him a maxi taxi, fitted with my wheels, tape deck, computer, air conditioned 8-cylinder. With posh new fittings, this maxi car arrived. Then it started to swerve and nosedive. It took a year for passengers to realize. They say the new driver cannot drive. Well, of the 33 chosen passengers, Ramnath, Pandey, Humphrey and Sudama, they wouldn't let the poor driver drive in peace. They distracting him and wouldn't cease. driving, they hitting him some big cloud. So he stopped the maxi and put them out. And to discuss their fate, they went to drink us straight by a club called 88. The driver called his sweet mouth friend Flash Gordon to give him some driving lessons. Flash appointed himself as the conductor.
Are you there?
Yes, hello. Saeed, good evening.
So there's a little technical problem we're trying to sort out. But he is asking the acting commissioner, DCP Jacob, to come forward and let the country know if this is true.
You ready?
Yes.
And if this is true,
I'm putting you back through.
why fire the rest and keep them working? Is it because that you are the DCP?
We ready. Hello? Sorry about that, Saeed. Good evening.
Hello?
Good evening. Sorry about that, Saeed. Good evening.
Good evening to you, my friend Senator. Now, two quick questions. What are your thoughts on the recent firing of the 19 contract workers hired under the previous Commissioner Gary Griffith?
Well, first and foremost, let us start at the beginning.
Yes.
Which is, I get some feedback, take off your volume, I hear it back here, but that's alright. I will try to ignore it. Now, first and foremost, there is no commissioner of police. We're in a constitutional crisis. We have no police service commission. The police service commission has collapsed. The Prime Minister has admitted to political interference, interface, and misbehavior in public office by trying to get some information into the ears of the chairman, Bliss C. Prasad, of the former chairman of the Police Service Commission, and was duly allowed to do so by the President. The President has admitted by media, paid advertisement, that she received the merit list on August 11th, and then it was immediately withdrawn later that day. Section 123(4) of the Constitution gives the President absolutely no discretion. And therefore, we are, for the first time in our history, without a substantive Commissioner of Police, without an acting Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police, by law, is the only person who can make human resource decisions and is responsible for the entire management and decision-making, budgeting, and allocation of resources to the police service and for the police service. There is no Commissioner of Police. Therefore, in my opinion, there is no one who can determine or end or curtail the employment of any individuals under the police service. But the Minister of Finance simply gave some appointment or some authority to DCP Jacobs that we do not even know if that is legal, constitutional, or if he has any authority so to do. This was done to ensure some form of budgetary allocation so that salaries could be paid and so forth. DCP Jacobs has taken it upon himself to conduct audits into the police service and make decisions without even taking the time to analyze properly. His statements of redundancy are contradicted by his very own voice, by him saying that some of the jobs that were undertaken could be done by other officers with similar qualifications. So there are many questions about the legality, but we can see the long arm of the PNM, the long arm of the political interference by Keith Rowley and the police service that is to be totally independent, carrying us further along the chain and the continuum into a police state where the politicians are in control of the police.
Now, my second question to you, Anil. I heard that you wanted to ask DCP McDonald Jacob if he has relatives that is working currently under the contract and as hired by Griffith.
Yes. I have very good information and he cannot answer because DCP Jacob, I asked him, was his daughter, because these 19 people were fired all hired by Gary Griffith. DCP Jacob worked under Gary Griffith. All of a sudden, he is saying that he is receiving advice from Ethelbert Hines, the Minister of National Security. Advice. He does not receive instruction, but he receives thoughts and advice. And then he fired 19 people to say that it was cost-cutting. But Saeed, one of these people, was a groundsman who used to take care of the sporting facilities for the police. A fantastic football ground that Gary Griffith did at St. James Barracks, which requires total care and attention every day by a groundsman. And a brand new AstroTurf. The PNL has not been able to upgrade the AstroTurf for our national hockey teams up in Tacarigua. But Gary Griffith put down an AstroTurf there. This requires a groundsman. DCP Jacob said that he's doing cost cutting and he fired the groundsman. So is he saying that there's no need to maintain these facilities? Number one. And number two, the groundsman's salary was only $5,000 a month. But DCP Jacob's daughter was hired by Gary Griffith under Gary Griffith's tenure, and she is currently working in the HR department, and she was not fired by her daddy. She was not fired by DCP Jacob. And this, we would like to know how and what and why were this decision, how was she left there? Also, there's a lady who was in the meeting with DCP Jacob called Miss Ramgalam. Miss Ramgalam is the director of HR at the police service. She was in a meeting with DCP Jacob and Joanne Archie, according to the statement by Jacob, when they were deciding to fire these citizens who were working to keep us, the people, safe, these 19 people. But her daughter was also hired on contract by former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith to be in the legal department. But her daughter did not lose her job, and DCP Jacob's daughter did not lose their job. So we are asking what sort of rubric was used, what sort of benchmark, how was this correct, what is this conflict of interest, is this the continuing action of the PNL to show that there is no propriety, no ethics, no morality, no principles of corporate governance in Trinidad and Tobago anymore. So these two people fired 19 citizens, 4 of them they don't renew their contracts, and then others have to be paid off contracts, bought out, and removed from doing functions to keep us safe. But they sit there in a meeting, and they do a quick poco, and they leave each other totally. This country is becoming a banana republic under Keith Christopher Rowley. Nothing functions, no independent institutions, and our democracy is dead, and we are in the state.
Mr. Anil, one quick question before we go. Do you have solid evidence, documents, right, stating that DCB Jacob daughter is working presently on contract after being hired by the former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith?
Yes, there is factual evidence. There is evidence from inside. There are 3 different witnesses who state so, and she is there, and he needs to answer. I have asked him 5 times. I got information on from solid sources, 3 separate sources, and I even know that the cumulative monthly expense of both daughters of Ramgalam and Jacob is $30,000 per month.
Wow.
But they fired a groundsman to save $5,000.
Wow. Mr. Anil, I will keep in touch with you concerning these evidence, and I would like you to share these documents with me so that I could share it in the public domain. So I do want to thank you for joining us tonight and sharing that bit of information with the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
God bless, be safe.
Thank you, my friend.
And good evening. We go in one time. We have Senator Damian Lyda. Senator Damian Lyda is here in studio with us. Senator Lyda, come round this way. Let the camera pick you up, man. Let the camera pick you up. Don't afraid, camera. How you going, my brother? How you going?
Evening, Anil Roberts.
Talk to
Double
me, people.
coffee and doubles and good night.
All kind of thing. Douglar radio,
Hold on,
Douglar
I ain't
politics.
seen myself well.
Yes,
Never come next year there.
Yeah.
What going on? How I invisible so boy?
Look you there. Delay, that delay. Right, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
No. Well, I want to say first of all, good night. A special good night to your ever-growing listening population who continues to tune in to listen to the truth, Anil, to listen to you expose this government and all their undertakings to try to thwart democracy, to trample on our constitution, and to take away the rights and freedoms of our citizens. So I firstly would like to say, despite being a colleague of yours in a different place, it is indeed a pleasure to be here to share this evening with yourself and all of your listening audience outside there on the radio and on the Facebook, etc. Tonight. And I walked in listening to you, Anil, speak about the police service and the situation that has been transpiring with the TTPS. And Anil, let me tell you, I mean, where do we begin on this conversation? An entire constitutional disaster, a constitutional crisis that we are now in today, that now sees us without a substantive commissioner of police or even an acting commissioner of police. One deputy commissioner of police who is there and two others who had to revert back to their previous positions. So we have a situation in the TTPS now, Anil, where leadership is absent. And we have a person running around in the form of Mr. McDonald Jacobs that seems to be almost abusing the powers of his position at this point in time. I mean, I heard you speaking about 19 persons having lost their job, and that's 19 that we know of that were contract workers that was hired by Gary Griffith. And you know, Anil, you know what is the sad facts about that, right? We have a situation that between January the 1st to August the 16th, Anil, some 35 weeks, this police commissioner, Gary Griffith, and his team, who now seem to all be exiled from the police service, his team were able to reduce murder this debacle, Anil. We have now seen the murder rate climb, skyrocket to the point of bypassing, not only bypassing, but being some 50 murders more year to date at this point in time. You know, and that is something troubling, because one of the things that we as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago had an issue with previous to Gary Griffith coming into the police service. And let me first say that I'm not holding a brief for Gary Griffith, but I am holding a brief for the citizens of this country and for our population and for the safety of our nation and for my family and my daughter. I hold a brief for them because I have to live in this country. I have to work in this country. My family has to live in this country. And here we are, before Gary Griffith coming in, a total decline in confidence of about something like about 14% confidence in the police service before Gary Griffith came in. And we saw a commissioner of police who, okay, he may speak very loudly, he may challenge many people, but he was a man of action, Anil. We saw a man that was fearless, a man that would not have been afraid to go into a zest, to bust up a zest, or go into a funeral with persons from the underworld, being afraid to break up, or enforce the rules that the rest of the citizens of this country have been forced to follow with the health ordinance, for example. Right? So we've had citizens, so one rule for the citizens of this country and a next rule for a different group of people. And we hear a current head or purported head to say that, well, it was in our better interests, we didn't want to cause a bad situation or whatever. And that is the kind of things, Anil, that causes a lack of confidence in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. When you could walk into a restaurant and be charged $5,000 because you forgot your inoculation card home, but yet several hundred persons could gather somewhere in a funeral and it's okay. You leave that alone. And that is why the confidence goes down. Gary Griffith raised the confidence in the TTPS by up to 40% in his time. And I shudder to think what's going to happen now. I think many of the citizens of this country, regardless of what political persuasion you belong to, many of the citizens of this country now is in a situation where they are in fear of the crime situation, seeing this 50% increase, kidnapping of a businessman that is still missing. Today, we saw a woman jump out of a car, Anil, kidnapped in broad daylight, jumped out of a car. She couldn't move. They had to pick her up. I don't know what has happened to her. I mean, a lot of citizens were able to stop and pick her up, unlike the lady in the golf course who was left there by the Prime Minister.
You have children? Well, I know you do. You have a daughter.
Yes, I have a daughter, Anil, yes.
Well, let me ask you, if you were to bounce, so that my voice big cocky, don't put on my head, that good. If you were to bounce a lady with a golf cart, with your car, with a grocery cart, what would you do?
Anil, it doesn't make a difference if it's a lady, if it's a man, if it's an old man. I think you have bounced a human. If I bounce on a dog, Anil, I will jump out to try to help the dog. I know some people wouldn't do that. They just fall asleep in the back of their car and roll over a dog and leave. And you know, let me just say, I'd like to
and post up the video.
I'd like to say a special. My sympathy to the family of Marley who lost their beloved dog. But not even a dog, Anil. A dog they wouldn't stop for. So, and then now we see a lady gets bounced down. And you know, when it rains, it pours. But I'll tell you something, eh? When you cast evil upon a nation, right? At some point in time, it catches up with you, you know. The God above don't sleep, eh? One thing, you don't sleep. So you could be from Mason Hall close to where? Lokoto? Right. Lekoto, right?
He put spirit lash on Manning, he boosted.
But God don't sleep, boy, Anil. And you know, it is very sad to hear that this lady was bounced down and he should have been the first person to run out, Anil. I would have run out and picked up the lady. I know you would have as well. If it was Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa in a golf cart. But I know she ain't had time for golf. She's a hard-working lady. But if it was her in a golf cart and there's a man she knocked down, Kamala Prasad Bisesa will pick up the man.
Say that. Friday 1:30. The Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago had time to be in a hotel playing golf. Discuss.
Well, Anil, you know, everybody, you know, it appears now that the only time you really get to see the Prime Minister these days is sometimes in the Parliament every now and again. And then when he has to come on the Saturday Mama Guy programs to come and buff the population and come and tell you what he decides, what the Emperor decides to open today, what the Emperor decides to close, you know, what science he read today, and then he puts the circus band to come now and show you graphs and tell you about this and tell you about that and tell you why it's important. And you know what, Anil? And tell you that it is important what we are doing to save the lives of people by keeping the state of emergency and so on. But yet, here we are, Anil, 6 months later, almost 6 months later, in a state of emergency, where people's livelihoods have been destroyed. More than 6,000 small and micro enterprise businesses have been shut according to the Trinidad and Tobago Chambers of Commerce, Anil. Business is in decline. You just have to go around the country, you see stores closed. More than 112,000 persons on the breadline, according to the latest figures from the NIS, showing 112,000 workers who are no longer contributing to the NIS. And that is in the formal sector, Anil. And when you look at the informal sector, many of these places like bars, restaurants, who don't necessarily, you know, who have casual labor and so on, that could be another 100,000. So you're thinking close to 200,000 of the adult population can be on the breadline right now. All of this has happened in this 6 months. Yet what we witnessed this weekend, when the circus band roll into town on the usual weekend show, weekend soap opera, right? We hear now all the ICUs are full again. Delta variant spreading through the length and breadth of the country. People dying. No reduction in the death. No reduction in the amount of people that have been contracting the virus. So what is the state of emergency really accomplishing? Let me tell you what it is accomplishing. and absolute destruction in those businesses that depend on a evening trade, such as restaurants, such as bars, such as the doubles man, the corn soup man, the fella who sell a little barbecue at the side of the road, the oyster man trying that thing. Those people depend on an evening crowd. When you have to bring staff out to work in a restaurant at night or whatever, and you have to close your doors early, you lose the dinner crowd, Anil. These restaurants and bars and so on depend on a lunch and a dinner crowd, Anil. So you've destroyed that industry, sending many people home. And then, if you want to talk about the manufacturing sector or the business sector, right, many of these places need to have 2 shifts to be able to produce. And we are approaching Diwali, right? And we are also approaching Christmas, which is the highest point of trade in the year for many companies. So we are seeing a ramp up necessary in manufacturing and business. We are seeing countries opening around the world now. So there's a demand for goods is now skyrocketing. And you are telling me, with no type of proper science being used and an absolute failure by the numbers that you are presenting to the nation now in deaths and in ICUs being full up, you're telling me this curfew is still justified. That you are taking away the rights of manufacturers, of restaurateurs to have a second shift. For people to be employed, Anil. Basically, in a nutshell, what is going on is our economy is being destroyed. And here we are again, coming out of a budget presentation, Anil, where we listen to a Minister of Finance who's come here, basically again, presenting a budget based on oil and gas again, on the hope and prayer that the oil and gas will recover in this country. I mean, I know you speak a lot about the oil and gas industry. I won't get into that. But maybe God is a Trini and he will smile upon us and skyrocket the prices. But the diversification of this economy that this government promised for some 6 years, Anil, has been, they have failed at it.
But
False promises.
But today I see Curtis Williams in the Business Guardian say that Clarence and Randall Mitchell doing good. You laugh, but I tell you, I read it in the Guardian, what color this is, what color this call this? It look peach in the business.
Anil,
well, I nearly choked. You know what Curtis Williams said?
One only has to look at this book here. This Red Book of Fairy Tales, edition 2. Right?
Well, deal with them too. Deal with Randall Stitches and Clarence there for me.
You know, I don't know what Curtis Williams said,
well,
right?
I didn't bother to read it.
But after the budget was read, I believe it was on the 4th, if I recall, October the 4th, right? And then, of course, on the 5th, people didn't have chance to digest it, so everybody comes out, the private sector comes out in the usual fashion. Oh, well, it's
no, not the private sector. Selected members of the private sector who have access to the PNM mass media, like some heads of chamber and things that have Balize juice all in the K-Pack. So,
right, okay.
Yes.
So I try to be diplomatic.
Yeah,
but
you is the diplomat. I don't have no diplomatic bone or juice in me.
But basically, you know, they ran out saying, oh, everything sounds good. You know, the budget sounds really good and so on. And we're really happy and whatnot, right? But what happened after that, Anil, on the 6th, on the 7th, and on the 8th, when all the different agencies, whether it's the tourism agencies, the manufacturing the agencies that look after manufacturing and business, agriculture, those people who belong to the agriculture industry, they started out commenting. And I was able to read in the parliament a number of newspaper articles that basically condemned, and you know, Anil, I mean, just for the record, because, you know, we're on a radio program here now, right? And I feel I like to deal with facts, right?
Correct.
So let me give you some of the articles. So, you know, I'm not talking hogwash here today.
Yes.
So, remember I tell you, tourism, Randall Mitchell,
yes.
Okay, agriculture, Clarence Rambarat, and the Ministry of Trade, which is Paula Gopi-Schoon, right? So let me tell you some of the articles that came out on the 6th of October, right? Not good enough, Diane Haddad, Tobago Chamber President, Newsday. Hoteliers, no innovative marketing for the tourism sector, Tobago Hotels and Tourism Association. Mixed views on the budget for agricultural sector, Newsday. Government now introducing policies from years ago, Terence Farrell, Express. Government for the rich and powerful. You know who said this, Anil?
Who?
Your best friend, man. The ex-Minister of Finance, Miss Karen Nunes Ishera. You hear what she said? Government for the rich and the powerful.
But Karen Nunes Teixeira,
Yeah.
when Rowley was bad talking Kamala Security Dome, you was inside there laughing at Rowley. You knew Rowley was incompetent. You knew Rowley was a dunce. You was hoping for a little walk or something. You ain't get it. Now you start to talk the truth. This is some of the reasons why we in a mess. Because people, even PNM people, have to be able to tell the truth. Rowley is a total disgrace. Go ahead.
Well, let me go ahead. Look, budget lack transparency and accountability. And you know, Anil, once they have gutted the procurement and disposal of public property legislation, you and I were in that debate, and they gutted it, giving the powers of procurement of billions of dollars of taxpayers' money, Anil, as well as the ability to sell our patrimony, our assets, our billions in assets, the oil refinery, whatever, land. And we could talk about that just now when we get to tourism, right? Land. And they have been able to circumvent the independent procurement regulator, the office of the independent procurement regulator, which I believe the deputy regulator resigned in protest, right? And they were able to circumvent. It was a Mr. Chankit, I think it was, remember? Right. And they were able to...
I think he was on the board, yeah.
Yeah, and they were able to circumvent, to be able to make decisions in the cabinet. So they could sit down, and by recusal, they could turn around and make big deals with billions of dollars of our money, taxpayers' money, as well as sell recently again with the Revenue Authority, where they have now, we debated that bill, and then you came back in. I'm glad to see you are better.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good to see you in good shape. But that bill, again, gutting that legislation again, putting the power in the hands of a Minister of Finance, who has the right to appoint a board to deal with all the areas of inland revenue, customs and excise. That is representing...
Let me ask the people something. As Senator Leida is talking, I'm asking y'all out there, okay? I'm going to break it down simply for you. The debate about the Revenue Authority is not about whether a Revenue Authority is good in other jurisdictions, okay? The actual bill that was brought by this PNM government says that the Minister of Finance, in this case, Colm Imber, will appoint a board. Now this has to do with your taxes, how much you pay, how much how much interest you pay if you don't pay, how they could come and seize your assets if you do not pay. This is a very serious, critical piece of legislation. And the bill brought by the PNM says the minister, who is Colm Imber, for example, right now, will appoint a board. Then that PNM board will appoint a Director General of the Revenue Authority. And then they will appoint several Deputy Director Generals. There will be one Deputy Director General of Enforcement who will be appointed by the Public Service Commission. However, that public servant will take instruction from the Director General appointed by the PNM, who takes guidance from the PNM board, who's instructed by the PNM minister. Tell me now, for those who are independent, does that sound like it makes sense to you? Does that sound like a piece of legislation that promotes independence, fairness, impartiality? Or does that sound like a PNM control tool? And if you decide that that is too much political interference, then I ask you to go and check the record of the independent senators that voted for that bill.
Well, Anil, and you know what the frightening thing about this, right? About all of this power in the hands of the executive arm of the state, right? Which is the cabinet, the government.
Sorry, Damian. But look what they did. As soon as they moved Gary Griffith and they have no commissioner of police and the Police Service Commission crumble and they are now in control, they fire 19 people.
Well, I'll get into that. I'll come into that, right?
But that's the track record. So if they're now in charge of your taxes, how much you pay, when you pay, and how much whether they could seize your assets, how you think they will act differently?
Well, here's the thing. when most of these people now coming back on contract, right, are being hired back on contract, they don't have security of tenure.
Correct.
So they have, their job is as long as their contract lasts.
So who in charge of them?
Right, and if you have a board of directors that answers to a minister of finance, right, and there is a requirement from the minister of finance, and not necessarily the minister of finance, it could be from any political member connected to the government, right? So let's just say
somebody could get vexed with you.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
a business competitor,
Yeah.
you in business,
Yeah.
and a PNM man who finance the party could be vexed with LIDA because LIDA get market share through good business tactics, good marketing, good pricing, and so on. And they could sick their dogs on you.
That's right.
Well,
They could pull my containers over.
They could do
They could
anything.
hold my containers.
They could do
rent,
anything.
demurrage. If I had a container with
could
fresh
seize
produce,
it. They could add tax.
spoil.
They could check you. They could
They could
audit
charge
you. They
you.
could slow you down.
All kind of
They
thing.
could do anything.
Yes.
They could weaponize the revenue authority just like they weaponize the police service now, because the National Security Council and the Prime Minister lost faith in a commissioner of police. They eliminated him and everybody, and now all of a sudden they have control over who gets to work and who gets fired.
Yeah.
That is not on in a democracy. All you have to forget is stupidness about PNM, UNC. The right is right and wrong is wrong.
You know, and Anil, and we know it's even more frightening than that. That is the victimization part. But this authority will be responsible for more than 90% of our annual revenue coming into this country. So what you are doing is putting over 90% of our revenue via taxes, VAT, income tax, business levy, right? Duties paid. You are putting the power in the hands of the executive arm of the state to have direct control over more than 90% of our revenue, Anil. And you are giving this authority the right, without any limits, to invest the money. So they can decide to invest. Wasn't there an investment recently that First Citizens Bank took that was questionable? Tell us about that, Anil.
Well,
I think it was, you have it there?
I don't know why you bring up that. Like you see, I had that deep down. Now, y'all, I'm not going to go too much detail into this now.
Yeah.
But Senator Wade Mark brought up the issue, and it was printed in the Express about 7 weeks ago, about First Citizens Bank, a bank that has, the only bank in Trinidad and Tobago that has political interference at the board level and the direction level and the policy level, giving not only investing and buying shares in the tune of 20 million US into a company with a short track record in financial activities called Barita, but also loaning money to the parent company, which is Cornerstone, without any information on who were the players in this company. So a total then of some 45 million US dollars just invested in some company by First Citizens Bank. Senator Mark asked many questions. Barita and Cornerstone have been silent for weeks, for about 7 weeks. All of a sudden, last week, First Citizens went further. They put another 8.6 million US into it. So a total of about 54 million US invested in this company. And then in today's Business Guardian, Curtis Williams gets to interview two small fries. Now, first and foremost, they give me two pictures, two young boy with glasses on, two black fellas, to give me a picture like, oh man, this is some young fellas doing a good business. They ain't give me pictures of the real people behind the scenes who in charge. But number one, why did these fellas from Barita come to talk to Curtis Williams if the Express was the one with all the information? Because if you have someone who's investigating a story, digging down, getting information, if you want me to believe, you have to deal with that person. Because Curtis Williams wasn't following up on that so much. He was dealing more with NGC and indemnity and so on. But then, and I would show you all, on a Douglar politics, I'll go into it in greater detail. But let me tell you the things that worry me. Secondly, these two gentlemen spoke about, in one area, that this company was purchased by Cornerstone in 2017, and it was a very small player, a small company. But in the same breath, in the same article, a column later, they talk about Barita being one of the largest investment companies in Jamaica history and the stock exchange, and they have 4 licenses. So within a column, they contradict themselves. That's very worrying. Furthermore, when they were asked the direct question, 2 direct questions by Curtis Williams, they failed to answer. And it leads me to believe that Senator Mark is on the right track, because they said, Curtis Williams asked, from a shareholding that was just over 1,000, they said that their shareholders moved from 1,000 to 3,000. So what? That's a small company. If you know how many shareholders Republic Bank have, you can only imagine. Asked if Cornerstone was not essentially borrowing money and investing in Barita, bumping up the profits and paying itself back huge dividends, Barita came back to Business Guardian with the following. And then they went on to give a whole long issue but did not answer the question, because it is clear that what Senator Mark is saying is that this company is getting pliable people to invest, and then they're buying and investing in themselves, artificially increasing the share price, selling it, and then skimming off the profits, because they asked at the end, neither Small, which is these 2 fellas, or Ferguson, Small, Ferguson, or Chambers, were prepared to speak on the loan Cornerstone got from First Citizens, except to say that they have been dealing with major banks. So the whole issue is, where First Citizens found out about this Barita, why are they loaning money to the parent company and buying shares simultaneously, pumping up this small company and spending 54 million US, which appears to be more than 56% of the total invested in this company in the last year? Who is making this decision? Why are other private companies or shareholding publicly traded companies and other major banks not also, if this is such a great investment? What, First Citizens, the only people monitoring the investments and companies? How come only a bank that has political direction from the top sees this as a benefit? So in this article printed by Curtis Williams, there are more questions than answers.
Yeah, and you know, Anil, I heard you call another name while you was doing this discourse, right? I heard you say a name called NGC.
Yes.
And we saw what happened in NGC when a board of directors turned around and approved, only of course, approved some, I think there's a debacle of some $700 million in question. Over 740 million in question.
Yeah.
That has been gone, vanished, badly invested.
And where's the issue? Where the newspapers? They just leave it?
So again, this is a board that was appointed, a cabinet by the cabinet, right? A board appointed by this government who took decisions to invest some over 700 million of our taxpayers' money, Anil, right, on their own accord, and then come into the government asking for an indemnity. And you come into the government asking for indemnity if you are so sure that your investment was good and was proper and was the right thing to do and was going to give you a return on investment. Why would you be seeking indemnity at this point in time?
But
you seek indemnity if you're worried about something.
But not only that.
Yeah.
If you are a board member, Lloyd's of London provides a service. They call it Directors' Liability Insurance.
Yeah.
Why did they not go for directors' liability insurance? Because one of the tenets of getting that insurance is that your decisions must be based on good information. It must be done in
sound
good
advice.
faith. Sound advice. Now,
good business decisions.
You could make the best decision and you could flop. Then Lloyd's of London will insure that. But
Right.
if you look at poor data, wrong decision, the probability of failure, and you go in that direction, the insurer will say, no way, you looking to lose money. So they could not get insurance.
Exactly.
So they come now to try and ask the very people who are directing them to do wrong thing for indemnity.
So Anil, so here we go, right? So we talk about NGC, we talk about FCB, so $700 and something million in NGC. How much in First Citizen again in Barita was, how much? 20 million or so? How much was it? About 20 million? Well, look, so you're looking at these entities spending taxpayers' money. And I was drawing that as an example of what is happening now with this new revenue authority, where this power by the executive arm of the state, the government, the cabinet, to have a direct influence over 90% of our revenue stream into this country, Anil. So if they could do what they did in NGC, and they could do what they did in First Citizens, and the questions are still there. We still haven't seen the transparency in these two matters. So we can't condemn anything until we see. But it is very questionable, Anil. Hundreds of millions of dollars jumping out. So if that can happen in those entities, imagine now a government having control through this revenue authority of more than 90% of our revenue and being able to invest that money or take loans based on that money of over $30-something billion in revenue coming into this country, Anil. That is frightening. That is frightening, and that is why I'm saying to you, Anil. I mean, I wanted to continue here, but I want to raise.
You raise anything you want. You're talking good.
No, I wanted to raise a point because this is one more notch.
You're giving people a headache out there.
Yeah, this is one more notch that's taking us closer when we see the level of control by the executive arm of the state over all these institutions, Anil. This is taking us one step closer to that word we use called dictatorship, right? We see, and Anil, you know, the word dictatorship is thrown around and fling around very loosely. And many people in the population may not quite understand the gravity of what dictatorship means in a country. When the executive arm of the state, the government, led by the prime minister, or in countries that have presidents, right? When there's a dictatorship, there's an ultimate rule over the democratic rights of citizens, over the freedom of citizens, the freedom to own property, trumping, being able to trample on the Constitution, Anil. When you have pure dictatorship, the citizens of a country are controlled by a prime minister or a president. And what I wanted to take the opportunity, Anil, is before, because I know time is full. I want to get back to the budget.
No, you have time.
I want to get back to the budget,
minutes,
right? I want to
yes.
get back to the budget. But what I want to explain to the citizens here that are listening on today is this thing we call dictatorship. And I want to break it down in a simplistic way. Now, Anil, there are independent institutions in this country that are governed by our Constitution. They follow the rule of law. They are governed by democratic values, Anil. They enforce the rights and freedoms of our citizens, right? And what we are seeing happening now, Anil, is an absolute trampling by this government on all of these independent institutions. Now, who are the independent institutions? We have the Public Service Commission. We have the judiciary, I believe it is, and the Legal Services Commission. I think I have a few others here. The Teaching Service Commission.
Yeah.
We have the Police Service Commission, which you were talking about. So these are some of the independent agencies. You have a president that is meant to be independent, who appoints the heads of all of these independent agencies, and including appoints independent senators. I'm not going there right now, but I'm just saying to you, right? So let me tear this apart for you and show you why, when we say there's a dictatorship emerging here now, Anil, this is what we mean by that. Already, you know, you've been in government, Anil. You know that many in the public service, we don't condemn all, but there have been certain people that have been strategically placed in the public service that are completely directed or controlled by this government, this particular PNM government. You remember how hard it was in your time in government to try to get things happen when you had interference from certain people in the public service. Not everyone, but I don't want to condemn. There are many hard workers in the public service.
You're frightened to say there are plenty PNM high up in the public service.
Right.
Because the PNM has ruled this country for 49 out of 60 years. And they control the public service and the promotions. That is why PNM MPs and ministers could get locked up. Because permanent secretaries are willing to break the rules to facilitate them. But when you have a UNC or opposition Them ain't breaking no rule because they want to delay you and go on, but it also protects you. That's why they find it very difficult to come at UNC and People Partnership Ministers, because Marlene McDonald, well, all the PNM, is PNM wife is permanent secretary, PNM husband is permanent secretary. That's what happens, and that's why this country is in a mess.
So that's the Public Service, right? Public Service Commission, right? Then, Anil, the ever famous EBC, Election and Boundaries Commission. That entity that is supposed to ensure a fair election, Anil. And I hear you all the time on your program speaking about the head of the EBC, which is this Fern
Narcisco,
right.
the niece of a former sitting minister and the best friend from St.
PNM
Augustine
minister.
Girls, of a former sitting PNM minister. I humbly apologize. And the best friend of the current PNM Minister of Education, Minister Bundles, from St. Augustine Girls High School. Them is best friends.
So we seeing perceived. So this is perceived infiltration into the EBC now, Anil. So so the question remains, do we live in a democratic country that an elections is fair and free of interference by a particular political party or by a political party that happens to be in government, right? And that controls the purse strings, right? So that's another agency. And recently we saw this debacle. This constitutional debacle, this constitutional crisis that has happened with the Police Service Commission now, where we now see all 4 members of the Police Service Commission have resigned, including the head, which was Ms. Blissy Prasad, who has now resigned. And I think you and we all mentioned that shamefully resigned, Anil, to be honest, with what we saw happen. And we saw a situation where the president of Trinidad and Tobago is embroiled in this crisis, where we see that the Police Service Commission, having sent a merit list, which we would assume, given the interference that Gary Griffith may have been on the head of this merit list, right? It's elusive merit list, and we see where even the president has agreed that this list was handed to her on was it the 11th? I think it was the 12th.
11th, she said.
11th, she said.
And
right?
it was immediately
and
withdrawn
it was immediately
later that
withdrawn.
day.
And then the conversation about a senior member of the executive arm of the state, the cabinet, the government, politically connected persons who intercepted Ms. Sipasad and the president at the president's house with this merit list. So we see the political arm.
It went further than that, because Rowley on a platform just a few days ago, you see, when a liar talk, Rowley lies so much it's hard to keep his story straight. He said he rolled the golf cart over Ethelbert because he admitted that Ethelbert, the Minister of National Security, remember Roger K. Walsing said that they were asking for evidence, and there was some minister who was interacting with them on the 26th of August, on the 27th of August, and on the 30th of August. Well, Rowley said that minister was Ethelbert on the platform.
and he also said that he could pick up the phone and talk to the president whenever he wants.
Yes, you can, about certain things that are under your portfolio, but not about Police Service Commission.
Yes, you could talk
independent.
You could talk to the president about the weather, whether she drinking tea and crumpets,
she nice,
how things looking, so on. But you cannot interfere.
You could go with a golf cart and bounce it down and say and don't say sorry. You could do that.
So and according to our constitution, Anil, in section 123(4), or actually section 123(3), first, the head of the Police Service Commission shall present the president with the merit list. And then, Anil, section 123(4) states that the president shall hand the merit list into the parliament for debate. Anil, shall, as you have said so many times, doesn't mean shall marshal. It means shall you have to.
Shall they sing some good song?
No, he does. That's why I say it's not shall marshal, because he can't be in this buckle. He can't be in this buckle.
I want to mash him up like splinters.
But the point is it doesn't mean maybe or I'll think about it and we'll see. You shall. That's the only job you had to do. Shall. Now, here it is, Anil. When you have the president who appoints the heads of all of these independent commissions, Anil. The Public Service Commission, the Police Service Commission, the Teachers Service Commission. This is, when you have the president that does that and is seen or perceived to be compromised here, Anil, we now find ourselves in a situation where it is possible for a prime minister, in this situation to wield power over all of these institutions. And let me tell you the frightening part about it. And let me tell you why we're closing in, or where I see this as closing in on a complete dictatorship. Because two of the very key areas that the president is responsible for and has an influence over is the police and she's the commander of the armed forces, Anil. The regiment, Coast Guard, Air Guard. We're talking the big guns in this country, Anil. Now, every dictatorship you've seen around the world is always, a part of that is direct control over armed forces and the police. Because when all else fails in controlling a population, when a population is fed up and says, we're not taking any more, we're going to come out and protest, we're going to come out and riot, and I'm not calling for anybody to riot, but when a population is fed up with a government and says enough is enough, we coming out to protest, we coming out to riot if we have to. The protective services is there, the military is there to ensure you silence those people and control those people. And you may have people that are out for the wrong reasons, but you may have many people who are simply fighting for their freedoms, for democracy. And it is so scary to think that a government, a political arm, can have this level of influence and power. That is the question I have on my mind, Anil. When I saw what happened here with this Police Service Commission, and I saw what happened with the president and the conflict of the president, hold on, and the president still hasn't come out. She still hasn't come out properly and given us the full story. And then of course,
she says she's not telling all.
She's not saying nothing. Yeah. And Blissy Prasad has gone quiet. There's been nothing out of Blissy Prasad, and I'm saying to you that is frightening, Anil. Because we saw what happened when a DCP comes and fire 19 people.
But let me also say, you all forget, when you were showing the porous borders, the lack of care in a pandemic. Now the borders were porous under the PNM since 2016. But in a pandemic from March 22nd, 2022, they did nothing to secure the borders. They laughed at Kamla Prasad Bissasa's plan to create a security dome. You went out with fishermen and filmed Venezuelans coming in. No air guard, no radar, no customs, no police roadblock, no coast guard, no vessels. I went fishing on 7 occasions and would see 11 to 14 vessels park up there. Do you know that the head of the Coast Guard came out and was so trying to defend Rowley and the PNM? At that time, it was Small Pin Stuart Young was the minister. That this Coast Guard, head of the Coast Guard, tried to fit 1,000 hours into 8 days. Such is his emotional attachment to the PNM. That is scary.
Anil, I want to touch on that Coast Guard matter, but I want to close on the dictatorship part that I'm talking about.
Yes.
You see, Anil, based on the system of governance, the Westminster parliamentary system, right, and the way in which from colonial days we've now inherited this parliamentary system and so forth. The prime minister always will have the ability to have the maximum power in this country, right? He will have the ability because he is a major part of appointing a president, as you will know, right? So through our history, Anil, we have had prime ministers who may have hovered on the edge of abuse of power, hovered on the edge. And we've had heads of commissions, independent commissions, who stood up against prime ministers and who exposed the abuse of power by prime ministers. But at the end of the day,
we long for those
every
days.
one of those prime ministers, even some PNM prime ministers of the past, right? Every one of those prime ministers would have despite trying to breach and abuse power somewhat, were always able to maintain some level of discipline, and they were able to abide by the Constitution, which is the supreme law of our country, and stay within their boundaries. You know? So, but what we are seeing here now, Anil, what we are seeing here now, this kind of abuse of power by this government, Anil, is now trampling on our Constitution. It is starting to become an assault on the rule of law, Anil. It is almost a decay of our democratic values. Anil, it is trampling on the rights and freedoms of our citizens. The right to own land, property, the right of freedom, the right of natural justice, Anil. These are the things that we are seeing now when they tear apart legislation in the parliament, gut legislation, when they interfere with independent bodies as like never in history before, where we've never had a situation where we've been without a commissioner of police or an acting commissioner of police. First time in our history. Now we have no proper leadership structure in this police service here now. That, Anil, is the meaning of dictatorship. That is us as a nation moving towards Venezuela, moving towards North Korea, moving towards Cuba, moving towards some of these, you remember the USSR, Communist China, Iraq, Anil. That is what we're seeing. And let me remind you, Anil, when people think God is a Trini, don't get God out of your thoughts. Because you ever see, look, you remember Venezuela. Even when Chavez was there, and even when he was trampling on everyone's democratic rights, it was still a country rich in oil, rich in resources, beautiful country, happy citizens. And it just took one dictator, Anil. This fella, a good friend of this government, Maduro. It took one fella to completely destroy a nation, to destroy an economy, to people died. Anyone who spoke up against him and his government, many of them missing still. People's lives and livelihoods gone. I speak to some of my friends. I have some friends back there, and they're trying all how to get out. That is why we see more, could be as much as 200,000 Venezuelans that are here in Trinidad now, illegal coming in through our borders, where millions of Venezuelans are dispersed throughout Brazil, throughout Chile, Argentina, Colombia, all throughout the South America, Central America, and into the United States of America, Anil.
We're going to take a short break now,
That
and
is
then we're
what
going to come back with your calls. Senator Lyda is here. We will come back with your calls, 218-7762. You're on U97.5 FM, Douglar Radio. Hot like...
Focus Studios proudly presents Diwali Lights, a virtual concert. Join us on MCTV on Sunday, October 31st from 5 p.m. and enjoy live performances from Reshma Ramlal, Satnarayan Raghu, Anurara Hansraj, Anthony Batson, and so many more. May the light of Mother Lakshmi spread to the dark corners of our world through music and song. Special thanks to our valued sponsors: Focus Studios, Factory Concepts, Lullaby Group, Drumsy Entertainment, VH Sound Company, Mohammed's Indian Delicacies, Bacchanal Radio, Classy Dolls Makeup Artistry, Printer Ting, Beauty Secrets by Natasha, Pawan Wholesalers Limited, Annie's Roti Shop, U975,
Hot like pepper.
Multicultural Radio, and MCTV. Diwali Lights, a virtual concert, a festival of songs, an evening of beauty and praise. Only on MCTV.
Happy Diwali.
His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Selassie, Jah Rastafari.
Join us Tuesday the 2nd of November right here on MCTV from 8 to 9 as we take a journey in the life and the legacy of the Lion of Judah. I am your host, D-R-A-M-A, accent to the last A, Dra. I'll see you soon.
Coming soon on MCTV, the local Palooza show and countdown. Hosted by TNT's rock ambassador, Bees Hi-Fi, the metal merchant. See and hear all your favorite local rock bands. Keep it rock alive. Rhythms Communications Network, local Palooza show and countdown. Coming soon on MCTV, the local Palooza show and countdown.
Yes, 218-7762. 218-7762. Call in now. And we just want to say good evening, Ross Johan, Edison Halassi, Scott Dionarine. And people were saying just before you talk that, they were saying that they wanted to hear the definition of dictatorship. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good night, gentlemen. Good night to the listeners. Something in meditation and trans application is a topic that's been discussed in a long time about this teacher and the student, right? Having baby, me how much of them it was. Anyhow, what I'm saying is in those times, where corporal punishment was around, and could this child being corporal has been used on this child, because in those times I think corporal used to have a leather belt who get corporal punishment. Was this child a victim of that? To be
all right, we have a good evening. We don't live in dream world. We deal with facts here, so it's all right.
No.
Okay, have a good evening. 218-7762. I don't deal with rumor and what could have possibly happened. I deal with facts. Keith Rowley was a teacher. There was a girl of school age, young Miss Allen. He had sex with her and he impregnated her. And he had a child, Garth Allen, when he was in a power position of being a teacher. We talk facts. I don't know about all corporal punishment, all that kind of thing. Hello, good evening. Hello? 218-7762. Good evening. Hello?
Mr. Anil.
Yes, sir.
And to Mr. Lyda and to your crew. You see the passion of truth. We keep on saying it. And we know the problem. Why is it we not solving it? Taxpayers' money is being abused in this country, misused, and not one citizen of this land wouldn't stand up for the righteousness. You see, when I just say something, a man sacrificed God and put the devil to run a country. Barabbas or Jesus Christ, the sacrifice, the Lord Jesus Christ, to wash away the sins of man. When a man could touch the blind to see, the deaf to hear.
218. Okay, you go ahead now, Cocky. All right. Hello, good evening. Yes. Hello? Next one. Cocky, like I does working better than you these days, boy. 218-7762. You're out of practice, Cocky, boy. What's going on with you? I too far. You run the phone there. Good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Why are we hearing that? Pop. Good evening.
Hello?
Yes?
Yeah. And, hello?
You have to turn off your radio, please.
Yes, hello. You know what is happening? We have been living in a constitutional prison for a very long time. And everybody who gets into political power in this country, they like to give the status quo. But Trinidad and Tobago has reached a time way back in 1976 that we carry on from the British system. We have invented a pan. We have invented calypso, which is very, very unique to our country. And our country is in a position now to have a new constitution, a new republic. With a leader, we put parties into power, we don't put leaders into power, and this is where our problem starts. Every time I look at the Act 4 of 1976, the Republican Constitution, I am seeing something that was given to us in 1962. They have made some minuscule changes in changing the Governor General to a president. A president don't necessarily have to be someone in a country that knows the law. Now, when you have a president, that person must have integrity, morality. Most of these people, when they get into legal profession, they have no morality, no integrity. And
No, I cannot agree with that at all. You cannot just generalize about an entire profession like that. That's not fair. You have to deal with individual circumstances, with individual facts.
Hello?
Yes, to state. You cannot state that an entire profession is without morality. There is no basis of fact for you to make that conclusion on an entire profession, sir.
Well, hello?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you see, it's not a profession. When you go back and you look at the Constitution and you look at what has been done to make amendments to the Constitution under Isaac Hayat, and there was a former person that held a conference to have amendments to the Constitution, and nothing is being done about it. And it is remarkable that you have had the present opposition leader trying to have sections of the Constitution regarding the actions of the president justified, but you're not having that. That will never happen because of the way the Constitution is structured. The whole idea when you have a parliament is when you have something leader, you have unicameral, and everybody is voted for. These appointments will always be political, and it would keep our country backward for 100 years to come.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, 218-7762, and good evening to Krishna Budu, Rajendra Maraj, Russell Chan, good evening. On the live, good evening to everybody. 218-7762, Nell Ramp, John Barlow. Aveni told me he's seen to replay here and what happened in his country. That is very true. Come now, cocky boy, I'm stretching. Good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, here now, Rowley went and Tobago, right? And on that golf thing, he bounced the lady. He had the heart to come out and tell the lady sorry, or if the lady could not walk, he and everybody, and he not, you see how heartless he is? You see when you're big, you're big?
Thank you, my
And you know, Anil, the big question is, you remember the lady said that she got COVID, so I wonder if Rowley is going to quarantine again.
Well,
that's a good question.
That's what we're asking. He has to go, and not only that, they have to contact Trish. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I have a different problem. I can't get my national insurance at all from this government. I want, when Rowley and this call, but I can't get my money at all from this Kenyan government. You could help me out there?
How long you trying?
Since last year, I'm starving and begging people to give me food to eat. I can't get the money, and why do you want to pay me money?
Where you living?
I live in Library.
Oh, Lord, oh, Lord, oh, Lord. All right, try to contact Mr. Victor Roberts down there. Go to the UNC office because the Library PNM MP is useless down there. Go to Mr. Victor Roberts, he will help you.
Okay.
All right, my brother. God bless. Victor Roberts.
With places.
Yes, my brother. God bless. Good evening, good evening. Hello, good evening. Hello, turn down the radio, and listen to the phone because there's a slight delay.
Hello?
Hello, listen to me on the phone, don't listen to the radio. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello?
Oh, Lord. Hello, good evening. You all new callers, don't listen to the radio or the Facebook or anything because there's a delay. When you call, listen to me on the headset on your phone. Good evening.
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Is this Douglar Politics?
Yes, it is. Turn down your radio and listen to me on your phone, please.
I can't hear you good.
All right, well, turn down your radio.
Okay, I did.
Turn it right down and listen to me on the phone. Go ahead. Good evening.
Are you Douglar Politics?
Yes, go ahead. We're listening to you live on the air.
Okay, but why you yelling at me for?
Because my mouth is big. You go ahead.
I see your mouth big all the time.
All right.
I calling you from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you to let you know
New Jersey.
that you are supporting one of the greatest women in the world. And don't never leave her until you guys win.
All right, New Jersey. Thank you very much.
They get good water to drink in New Jersey.
Yes, get some good water. We need your water. We got government juice. 218-7762. Good evening. Hello.
Good afternoon, Senators.
Good evening. How are you going?
I am doing well, sir. Now, I have been wondering, in the pandemic, how are we to account for money given to tourism and money given to agriculture and money given to and the money for like the school feeding programs when school was closed. How are we going to get an account of these things? Now, authority, which seems to be occupying everybody's mind, is very strange because if you dismantle the public service, who is really in charge of revenue? The public service. They must ensure that the government expenditures are fully accounted for. Hence the reason why we have persons answering charges for airport scandals up to today, because the public service are the ones who keep the records and these people are taken before the court. Without a public service, then how can we have a Westminster system? You cannot divorce the public service from the Westminster system, sir. And with all due respect, when the public service and the permanent secretaries, the hierarchy in the public service that is, falls under the salary review commissions, then they don't care about the rest of the public service, because when the ministers and the parliamentarian money goes up, theirs goes up as well. And they're not worried about the collective bargaining between the rank and file public officer and the CPO. It's of no interest to them.
Correct. Thank you, my brother. God bless. Well said, well said. Lida, where the money for tourism?
Well, boy, I was going to, I hear him talk about airport. And that, that piqued my interest because, again, we see $1.2 billion being spent, reported to be allocated for a terminal, not an airport, a terminal in Tobago. 1.2 billion, how you go? Billion. Billion dollars.
218-7762.
And we've not seen a feasibility study. We've not seen a return on investment on this expenditure of $1.2 billion of taxpayers' dollars of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And when we see 20,000 tourists in 2019 coming into Tobago, so where are these million tourists going to come from?
Good evening.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Now I'm hearing about this pushback on the 30th.
Yeah.
I also heard the finance minister say there's no money for scholarships. So I am waiting to see all these parents who have children studying out there who wouldn't be getting any funds and might be thrown out of the dorm or out of their classes or all those who have did well and they're not granted scholarships, I am watching to see, I'll be there and I'm watching to see how many of those parents going to come out to push back for their children.
All right. Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening. And we want to say, Jerome Moses, good evening. If it was Rowley bounced with that golf cart all now, so the country looking for a new prime minister. Asif Mohammed, good evening. Bishram Hanu, Natasha Woods. Good evening. Hello.
Good evening, Anil.
How are you?
And good evening to Mr. Leiter.
Good evening. Good evening.
Gentlemen, I believe that both of you could really talk. You could carry a talk for long. But listen, while you're talking, this man got away with the fact that we no longer have a commissioner of police. Nothing is happening to the president. I mean, we have no police service commission. I mean, the man got what he wanted and he's off to Tobago golfing.
Correct.
Right? And I'm trying to tell you, gentlemen, that it cannot just be talk alone.
Right, so November 30th.
It cannot be talk alone.
November 30th, I will meet you by the savannah and we will talk. As all the people are meeting November 30th to get out there. Because right now, all we can do is talk and inform. But it is the masses, the people.
I mean, that must continue, Anil.
Yes,
the
but we need.
must continue
Yes, but what we need is you. We need you to get 10 people. We need the whole country, left, right, center, Hindu, Muslim, Jara, Rastafari, Orisha, Baptist, everybody to come out there November 30th and show this government people power. I agree with you, my brother.
But Anil, I want to agree with the caller here now that talk. But I want to say something to him that yes, we talking, but sometimes we can't even talk because they're shutting us down inside the parliament. They're cutting off our mics.
That's what I'm saying, Mr. Leiter. We have to use a different approach.
Tell me what's the different approach. I'm listening.
I mean, we have it. We have it set up for the 30th.
Right.
You understand? And I'm looking forward because our leader said that she's going to fight them in the court.
Yes.
She's going to fight them nationally, regionally, and internationally.
Correct.
And it can't just be taught because they have already started to ridicule the very word revolution.
No, that's their problem. They are the ones who are oppressing. So their job is to ridicule. But I am telling you, all across this country, people are getting ready like yourself for November 30th, which will be the beginning of the end of the oppression of the PNM.
Peacefully, by the way, Anna.
All right. I look forward
God bless. See you on the 30th. 218-7762. Hey, my brother, boy, long time no see. I ain't gonna call your name, but my boy, we gotta take a lime when SOE left, boy. I wonder if we can take a drink, a little rum and soda. Good evening.
Just one more thing, Tobago again. Tobago, the tension is going to get very, very high in Tobago about the middle. Tobago, people will be tested how strong they are, what they believed in, and what they would like to have. Is either the fall or the rise in whatsoever situation they are in now. Their strength will be tested now, and the tension is going to rise immensely. What you see there was a scare passage. That is the beginning of what is to come. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Have a good night. Have a good night. And we're saying good evening to Tommy Muhammad. We're saying Cyril Fisher, Gideon Williams, Jerome Moses, Richard Simeram. Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
Hold on.
We only come off that bouncing of course because of COVID, boy. You hear the city woman get
All right, good evening. Corky, they say they want a WhatsApp number to call and thing.
3784975.
So you had that all the time?
Yes, man. 3784975.
And where we are saying that?
Right over here.
Well, you stay on that side then. All right, we won't use that today because we only have 10. But Corky have secret thing. You have me getting buff here for no for Brooklyn coming down. The people in Brooklyn coming down, Corky. Good evening.
Hello.
Hi, it's me, Anil.
Hi.
Hey.
Do you know my brother? Do you know my brother?
Well, if you tell me who your brother is, I might know him.
He used to be working with Kamala. He got killed in the wrong ways.
Oh, I'm not sure. What's his name?
whole chance for day.
All right, I may have met him. I don't know him off the top of my head. How did that happen? And did they catch the perpetrators? And condolences to you and your family.
The one who killed them just like Rowley partners.
What? Huh? Look, I not making no joke. If your brother get killed, that's not funny. All right, my dear, have a good evening. I have a sense of humor, but when I don't know, all you confuse me there. Good evening.
Good night, Senator Anil and
Good
Senator
night.
Damian.
Hey, good night from Diego Martin.
Diego Martin, listen to me. Diego Martin people are really cowards. The three of them, Central and West, coward people. This suffering and they still won't raise. I mean, really. Anyhow, the 30th will be nice.
It will be
It's
nice.
really nice.
I will see you there. See all the people of Diego Martin.
And you know,
out there.
Diego Martin, if you see the amount of holes in the road, leaking, pipes, bust in Rowley constituency.
Councillor Balmati, go sign. Good evening, councillor. I love all your councillors. All let us work hard. Oh, Lord, pressure for the councillors. Good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Aha.
You hearing me? Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to discuss this pushback that you want to have on the 30th of November.
Not I want to have. It's happening.
Okay, what the UNC is trying to...
Not the
have on
UNC, not the UNC alone. Every single citizen who's not happy with oppression, November
All right.
30th, Queen's Park,
Right,
Savannah.
I am not happy, and I want to be there.
Well, we'll see you there.
This. As it stands right now, we don't have commissioner of police. We don't have a police service commission, right? And more than likely, by the 30th of November, we won't have any a police commissioner or a police service commission.
That would be.
So how do you intend to get approval, right, to hold this rally?
Well,
on
listen
the
to me.
30th?
We have written for the approvals. The approvals are there. Whether we get it or not, we will be there.
Yeah, but...
All right, well,
if
you listen to me carefully.
Sure.
Hear me.
I'm listening.
We have written, and the people who have organized have written for permission. And if there's no commissioner of police and we get no letter, at this point in time, we are still going there. So just get ready to come down. Because at some point in time, you have to say enough is enough. If you want to wait for a commissioner of police to tell you that you could go down there with your mask on, social distance, well then you are welcome to stay
following
home.
proper
But
protocols.
we will be there,
Following
my brother, and I hope to see you there. All right?
In groups of 10.
You hear me? Yeah. Hello, good evening.
Good evening again, Anil. And
Good
to Mr.
evening.
Lider,
Good evening,
and
good
to
evening.
everybody there. Anil, you remember when Mrs. Prasad Bisesa went to Brazil, he called her Hotfoot Kamala.
Yeah.
That the crisis, and she leave the crisis to go to see football. What was the crisis, Anil? Because people were not getting their passports on time. That was a crisis. Didn't we have, wasn't that supposed to be seen by the Minister of National Security?
Correct.
Isn't there people to see about that? But no, you'll even going to play, going to have your rums in Tobago. Look at what took place. You wasn't playing hot foot then. You know, all the things that he accused Mrs. Prasad Bisesa for, he is still in a... And it is acceptable by the people of this country who once condemned Mrs. Prasad Bisesa for everything that she did. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Listen, he have
and
a...
we say good evening to Daryl Superstar, Susan Bootman, Rishi Suku. We saying all going down the good evening to everyone who is there. So many people, if I forget your name, don't study that. We going hustling, we hustling.
Well, he have a hot foot, yes, because he push his hot foot down on the
On
pedal,
X,
on the accelerator.
And he put it in forward
and
instead
forward,
of reverse.
And knock down the lady.
That scotch was strong. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Hi, Koki, the Anna, and the Ragazzi. Yes, I just want to say something. You see, all of a sudden, this is preacher. But you see, all of a sudden, you see the cases of the COVID rising. I know these people, and if you know them good, you will know that they're up to something to shut down that day on the 30th. But we're not going to stop. We're going to
God
push
bless.
back.
They will do everything.
You understand?
That is dictatorship.
But the cases really are rising. and it's out of control, and they cannot control it, and they have not controlled it, and they have failed from the beginning, and they are continuing to fail. Good evening.
Number one in the world.
Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I am no legal mind, but boy, I cannot wrap my mind around this fiasco. The PNM has the majority in Parliament. If the list reaches to the president with Gary Griffith at the top of the list, and she forwards it, when it gets to the Parliament, doesn't the PNM have the majority
Yes.
to decline Mr. Griffith as the police commissioner?
But here the problem.
They was going to undermine
Here the problem. The PNM is divided totally, completely. There are factions in the PNM, and Rowley did not want to risk that the vote in the Parliament, some of his PNM would have voted for Gary. So he tried to do it secretly through shoo-shoo, through impact and political interference with the Police Service Commission chairman and the president. That's why.
But not only that, Anil, but you look at the popularity of Gary Griffith, 80% popularity. So he did not also want to pay the political price
Correct.
for having to get
But
his all of his minions to back him in a no confidence in the Parliament with
Correct.
Gary Griffith. So he try a roundabout smart man way.
Because he is doing something that is not correct. He's interfering in a vindictive manner.
Gentlemen, one more thing. Please ask them when last they had a worm out. Thank you.
Nice. And a worm out, oh Lord. We have about 1 minute. We'll take one. Oh no, Senator Lyda. Wrap up. Talk to the people. November 30th. Tell them something.
Well, I mean, November 30th, we want to come out there because let me tell you something. There comes a point in time when the citizens of our country has to say enough is enough, Anil. It comes a point in time where we have to say no to dictatorship. It comes a point in time where we have to say or be prepared to fight for our rights, our democracy, for our freedoms, Anil. And we're not saying to come out to be violent, you know. We're saying come out to have your voices heard. If it is they want to shut us down in the Parliament so our voices are not heard there, if it is that they want to shut us up in the media, in the fourth estate that should be independently reporting both sides equally and evenly, even if they want to shut us up there, and then they want to shut us up by controlling all of these independent agencies, and they want to shut us up by controlling all the heads of various powerful private sector groups, if they want to shut us up there, we still have the right to come out peacefully and to protest and have our voices heard all together in our thousands in one unison. And let me be clear, Anil, we are not here to cause a super spreader event. We must follow all protocols according to the public health ordinance, Anil. And through that measure, we must come together as one country. Black, white, Chinese, Muslim, Hindu, Catholic, Orisha, wherever you are, whether you've supported the PNM, whether you supported NJAC, whether you support the UNC, COP, whatever parties, if you are apolitical, you don't support any party, support your country, Anil, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Support them, come out, let your voices be heard, speak up and say no to dictatorship. Say no to this PNM Rowley dictatorship.
Throw up the tassa. Thank you. Good night. We gone. Douglar Radio. Reach home safe. Throw the tassa corky. And we waiting for DJ Anil to come up after. Blessings.